долгий век моей звезды, сонный блеск земной росы, громкий смех и райский мед в небесах. Солнце свет и сердце звук, робкий взгляд и сила рук, звездный час моей мечты в небесах.
All right, welcome back, guys. That was Alliance Nazaya from the Nostalgia channel, Russian rock channel. And, of course, we're all co-conspirators just for listening to that, according to the House Subcommittee on Government Oversight. So, expect to hear a knock at the door any day now from Adam Schiff and that other moron, Nadler. There's a third guy, isn't there? Eric Swalwell. It has to be just the dumbest fucking leadership in the country. in the world has to be the Democrats and their House committees and everything. So, yeah, Russia, they're still going at it. Still going at it. I can't believe it. In fact, I think, you know, I'll bring this video. I thought I'd close this window, but apparently I still have it. So we're going to watch Adam Schiff today get basically his ass handed to him by this other clown on the Republican side, Mike Conaway. I say clown because you'll see that something else happens that's a little embarrassing with him. But let's hear them.
Yield to Mr. Conaway.
Mr. Chairman, since prior to the inauguration of President Trump in January of 2017, you've been at the center of a well-orchestrated media campaign claiming, among other things, the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government. Indeed, before the appointment of Robert Mueller as special counsel, you alleged during one of your frequent television interviews that there was, quote, more than circumstantial evidence, quote, of collusion, but that you could, quote, not go into the particulars, close quote. Your repeated public statements, which implied knowledge of classified facts supporting the collusion allegations, occurred at the same time anonymous leaks of alleged intelligence and law enforcement information were appearing in the media. These leaks were often sourced to current or former administration or intelligence officials, appeared to support the collusion allegations, and were purported to be related to ongoing investigations of President Trump and his associates. As you know, the committee has long been aware of and actively engaged in intelligence oversight activities related to Russians' malign activities. As part of our duty to oversee the actions of the intelligence community, we conducted a thorough investigation related to the 2016 Russian efforts to interfere in our elections. This investigation included a review of the allegations that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. The committee found no evidence that President Trump or anyone associated with the Trump campaign colluded, coordinated, or conspired with the Russian government. The minority views, which you submitted, were attached to our committee's findings, and yet your views did not provide any evidence to support the claim of collusion. On March 24, 2019, the special counsel delivered his findings to the government, to the special counsel's investigation.
So I don't know if you can hear that, but some stupid, some video was going off on his phone, and he couldn't shut it off. It was pretty stupid. But here we go.
Do not find that the Trump campaign or anyone associated with conspired or coordinated with Russia in its efforts to influence the 2016 presidential election. Special Counsel Mueller's findings are consistent with those of this committee, as well as the public statements of various senators on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Despite these findings, you continue to proclaim to the media that there is significant evidence of collusion. You further have stated you will continue to investigate the counterintelligence issues. That is the president or people around him compromised in any way by hostile foreign power? Your willingness to continue to promote a demonstrably false narrative is alarming. The findings of the special counsel conclusively refute your past and present assertions and have exposed you as having abused your position to knowingly promote false information, having damaged the integrity of this committee and undermined the faith in the United States government and its institutions. Your actions, both past and present, are incompatible with your duty as chairman of this committee, which alone in the House of Representatives has the obligation and authority to provide effective oversight of the U.S. intelligence community. As such, we have no faith in your ability to discharge your duties in a manner consistent with your constitutional responsibility and urge your immediate resignation as chairman of the committee. Mr. Chairman, this letter is signed by all 9 members of the Republican side of the House, of the committee, and I ask unanimous consent to be entered into the record of today's hearing. I yield back.
All right, so beyond that, what are the ramifications of this? Hold on, for some reason it won't let me. So, do you guys want to hear that song again? Maybe some other time. Anyway, there is this. This is from Monica Crowley, who she published it Wednesday, saying it's called The Real Obama-Clinton Cover-Up, and it says, where does Donald Trump go to get his presidency back? After 2 years of ominous suspicion, $30 million endless warrants and subpoenas, dishonest media, hysteria, and too many wrecked reputations and lives, Special Counsel Robert Mueller found that neither Trump nor his associates colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election and determined that no further investigation on obstruction of justice was warranted, and the Department of Justice concurred. Even some of the president's fiercest enemies were forced to concede that the Mueller report was a complete vindication of the president and his team. The resistance fueled by the Mueller, and they've died by the they lived by the Mueller and they've died by the Mueller. No, they haven't died yet. They're still up to their old games. Okay, it's just ridiculous. And Adam Schiff is not going to change. You're not going to see Eric Swalwell change. You're not going to see Whoopi Goldberg change. All these people, they have converted into true believers in this ridiculous myth. Okay? So, I think that this is going to, they basically locked themselves into this cage, and they're not going to be leaving anytime soon. Jeez, why the fuck are there all these? Oh, it's the Washington Times. I'm wondering why there's all these ads for the Washington Wizards. What they have done, explaining the 2016 election results with the malicious Trump-Russia collusion lie, goes way beyond sore loser syndrome. It was, in fact, an attempted coup to remove the duly elected president by weaponizing some of the most fearsome arms of the U.S. government. And the conspirators enjoyed an invaluable constant assist from their media wingmen. The entire Russia conspiracy, orchestrated by 5 high-ranking figures in the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton campaign, and broader leftist network, was designed to undermine and then destroy the crass interloper who posed an immediate existential threat to all of them. They had to crush him before he could crush them. It was also designed to provide maximum distraction away from their potential crimes. A multi-year special counsel investigation of a sitting president for something that never happened would grant the actual plotters enough time to cover their tracks and run out the clock on various statutes of limitation so they could escape prosecution. So this is a good article. I'm going to put it in the chat. And I'm going to talk a little bit more extemporaneously about some other topics related to this, okay? So you may have seen the thumbnail for this, which I'll try to pull up while we're talking. So the thing that's going on right now is that the Democrats are trying to kind of absorb what's happened and sort of give, people are trying to see where the damage is going to fall the worst. And that pertains to the leadership in the House. That pertains to some of these candidates for president. That pertains to a lot of these people. Second. This is my thumbnail. I hope you guys saw it. I was very proud of it, seeing as I worked on it for about 5 minutes. What the fuck is going on? Trying to do this. This is what I hate about OBS. You try to create something and then here we go. Takes forever, man. What I really need is like 5 other screens. If I had 5 other screens, this show would probably run a little better. But I actually have a pretty shitty desk space over here. This isn't exactly great area. So yeah, it's dude, where's my collusion? So that's really the topic we're going to talk about right now. And sorry for the very sparse visual representation, but yeah. You have all these candidates and all these people who are part of the leadership, and in reality, what they're going to have to do is sort of navigate themselves around the specter of how they behaved during the whole Russian collusion fiasco. So, one second, let me put this back in the background. So, anyway. The problem that you see here is that some of these people, they may have not wanted to go along with the narrative, but in order to be presentable to the Democratic establishment, they had to. So there are two people, in my opinion, maybe three people, four people. Okay, so there's four candidates who are running for the Democratic presidential nomination who could legitimately, in my opinion, say that they don't have the taint and stink of the Russian collusion hoax that they going about them. And those people are Andrew Yang, Mike Gravel, and the third guy would be that weirdo Pete Buttigieg. And then there's Tulsi Gabbard, who I think would probably be the least affected because she pushed back against it. And I think I don't think it should matter what political persuasion you are. You should give credit to Tulsi Gabbard for having integrity all these years and not buying into the bullshit. And that's why I think that she should be considered a very merit. She has the merit to be a presidential candidate. I think that the integrity that she shows, she really is somebody who hasn't been, led along by the leash by the rest of the Democrats. Let me see here. Do I recommend OBS? I don't know. I would say that I don't even know if there's a better software for streaming. So this is the best that I can get. I'm not exactly invested into a huge visual presentation here. This is about as good as it's gonna get, guys. Okay. Unless you donate to Subscribestar, then you might actually get some, maybe some animation or something. Most of them are drowning in Russia. So, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, would have almost nothing to do with the Russiagate nonsense. I don't think she bought in at all. Andrew Yang, not really relevant to him. Most of his campaign has been completely unrelated to Russiagate. Then you have Buttigieg, same idea. And finally, Mike Gravel would probably be also pushing back against the Russiagate hysteria. But those guys are not, all four of them, whether it's Gabbard, whether it's Buttigieg, whether it's Andrew Yang, and whether it's Gravel, they don't really have kind of the inside track to the nomination anyway. So you're going to have to sort of move beyond that and look at the candidates who are tainted. And the person who would be the most tainted by this nonsense is, of course, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I think, is basically, because he's so associated with the Obama administration, he's basically going to have a lot of issues if he announces his presidency. If he announces his presidency, he is going to be tainted by it because now we're going to be seeing investigations into the role of the Obama White House and the Justice Department under Loretta Lynch and Sally Yates, by the way, in this whole fiasco regarding the FISA warrants, regarding the Five Eyes intelligence agencies, regarding the CIA and John Brennan and James Clapper of the, I guess he was the Director of National Intelligence. All of those people are Obama gargoyles, and yes, I think that they're both going. All those people have something to lose, but Joe Biden has the most to lose from what's going on over here. Let me see here. There's some video here, not just of Biden, but of Beto O'Rourke. So I'm going to pull that over.
Beto O'Rourke, the latest Democrat to join the presidential race, begins day 2 of his 3-day tour through Iowa. This morning, we met the former Texas congressman and Senate candidate at a coffee shop as he finished his 3rd stop in Iowa yesterday. He spoke with us across the street at an art gallery. The name of this center, by the way, is the Art Center of Burlington. Very, very nice people there. This is his first TV interview since announcing his campaign. We talked about why he decided to run.
So you can see that from the body language of these people. They feel at home with these media idiots. Okay, this is Gayle King, who is the person. So why would Gayle King, who is, give her credit, I guess she was the one who got R. Kelly to break down, even though I never watched that interview. So she's softballing this clown, Mr. I eat dirt after losing to Ted Cruz. She should really ask, why did you eat dirt after losing to Ted Cruz? Well, I don't know if she did, but let's listen to this interview.
His plans to tackle health care and why he thinks his limited government experience will not hurt his chances. So here we are, day one, 600 days to go till Election Day.
Right.
We actually counted. Why you, why now?
This country has never faced a greater set of challenges. For us to meet these challenges.
Okay, there's been the Civil War. Okay, we've had the Civil War, the Kennedy assassination. We've had the bombing of Pearl Harbor. That was kind of a challenge, don't you think? Don't you think there was the Great Depression? Don't you think that was kind of a challenge, Beto? What about the disco sucks disco demolition night back in 1981 over at Comiskey Park? America really had to heal from that one. Almost burnt down the stadium. So yeah. By the way, welcome back, baseball season. I don't know if I'm going to get to watch a lot of these games because they're always on when I'm at work or when I'm asleep.
Including the greatest of them all, the existential crisis of climate change. We are all going to have to pull together. We're going to have to fix this democracy, make it work for and represent everyone. The way in which I have served in El Paso on the City Council or in the United States Congress, the way in which I campaigned all across Texas is all about bringing people together.
But as you know, the criticism has already started. 3-term congressman, no real legislation in his own name, lack of experience. I think even the Texas Tribune said, paper-thin record. Why shouldn't voters be concerned about voting for you with your lack of experience?
Well, I'm grateful that ultimately it's up to voters and that they'll have a chance to meet with me, question me, listen to me, and I'll have a chance to listen to them. Lifelong El Pasoan, with Amy raising these 3 amazing kids, small business owner, serving in local government, being in the minority party for every one of the 6 years I was in Congress, and yet delivering for the people I serve, delivering for veterans, delivering for our border community. These were all things that we did by working with and listening to other people. And I'm convinced that it holds the key to our ability to meet even greater challenges before us. The only way we do this is by renewing and fixing our democracy and bringing everyone in.
So for many people, Beto, who are really just looking at you for the first time, I just want to hit the issues. Healthcare, we all agree, everybody wants affordable healthcare for all Americans. You intend to do that how?
So the goal should be universal, guaranteed, high-quality healthcare. I think we supplement those who have private employer insurance with the ability to be covered under Medicare. That allows us, sooner than almost any other plan, to ensure every single American has the ability to see a doctor, afford their prescriptions, or take their child to a therapist.
Are you from the Medicare for All?
I think Medicare for All is one of the possible paths. I think the fastest way to get there is to ensure that people who have insurance that they like through their employer are able to keep it, and that we complement that with those who can purchase Medicare, be covered by Medicaid.
Taxes? You planning to raise taxes on the wealthy?
Yes. I think.
How much?
I think corporations should be asked to pay.
Gayle King is kind of looking out for her. She's trying to budget for the future here. So that's why she asked the question.
A greater share into the success of this country. I think the wealthiest at a time of historic income inequality should be asked to pay a greater share. I don't know what the levels should be at, but I know that the tax cuts from nearly 2 years ago of $2 trillion at a time that we had $21 trillion in debt at a moment of extraordinary need across this country was one of the most irresponsible things that the country has ever done.
And you said if you are elected, your cabinet will look like America.
Absolutely.
What does that mean and why is that important to you?
In a country where the wealth is disproportionately concentrated in white families, in a country where the prison population, the largest on the face of the planet, is disproportionately black and brown, in a country that has never never fully accounted for the cost of slavery, of segregation, of suppression of voters, of participation in our economy. We have a lot of work to do. And where we can ensure that those who have the opportunity to hold positions of power and public trust look like and reflect the country, we should make every effort to do so.
You had said earlier that you thought President Trump should be impeached. Do you still feel that way?
It's beyond the shadow of a doubt to me that if there was not collusion, there was at least the effort to collude with a foreign power. Beyond the shadow of a doubt that if there was not obstruction of justice, there certainly was the effort to obstruct justice, whether that's firing James Comey, the principal investigator into what happened in the 2016 election, or in the light of day tweeting to your attorney general, as President Trump did, to end the Russia investigation.
Because you know Speaker Pelosi's gone on record. She does not think that's the way to go at this particular time.
How Congress chooses to address those set of facts and the findings, which I believe we are soon to see from the Mueller report, is up to them. I think the American people are going to have a chance to decide this at the ballot box in November 2020, and perhaps that's the best way for us to resolve these outstanding questions.
Listen, he's candidate number 13.
All right, so that's one clown, and this is a guy who doesn't know anything. So first of all, the collusion issue has been put to rest by Bob Mueller. Okay, as for the issue of obstruction of justice, if there was no underlying crime, it's very difficult to indict somebody for obstruction of justice. Sorry, I have to put this, but it is distracting. It's distracting me. So, and I don't know how this one got into. So yeah, I would say that we're talking about a real, real weasel there. When you see people like Beto O'Rourke saying, "Well, we have to kind of address this issue of obstruction of justice." No, there is no obstruction of justice if you are. One second. Yeah, I really messed up the display here. Here we go. Back to normal. So, I don't know if Lennon McCarthy, let me know in the chat. Do you ever have problems like this with OBS? I don't know if you even use it. But in any case, the collusion issue has been put to rest by Bob Mueller. Obstruction of justice was put to rest because the Trump organization and the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself and his lawyers, they all handed over whatever documents that Mueller needed. And they cooperated directly with the prosecutor. And essentially, you can't call it obstruction of justice if they didn't actually deny access to certain things that were requested by Bob Mueller. So there is no obstruction of justice there. Now, what they are complaining about now, and what you see from some of these idiots and, buffaloes and clowns in the media, is that they're trying to say, well, the real issue with obstruction of justice is that Mueller didn't ask the right questions. He didn't ask about President Trump's, his dealings with Russia in the past and his real estate deals and maybe some loans that he took and perhaps the deal for Trump Tower in Moscow, which never happened, and certain issues that happened after the election and things like that. That is irrelevant entirely. Because if Mueller decided not to ask those questions, it's not obstruction of justice. Then you can just criticize Mueller. And turning against Mueller and attacking him doesn't harm Trump at all, because nobody who's a Trump supporter that I know, okay, and it's not as if I'm a blind Trump supporter. You've seen me criticize certainly his interventionist policy in South America, as well as some of his policies on guns and things like that. But there's no Trump supporter would ever say, well, we believe in the integrity of Bob Mueller. Nobody. Welcome, by the way, Larry. Let me see here. It was never a crime. I'm just reading the chat for a second, guys. So there's no obstruction of justice. It's all a joke. And then you heard Beto O'Rourke. Let me see if I can even find the moment.
Was the effort to obstruct justice.
So there you go. Exactly. I don't know how I found the exact spot. The effort to obstruct justice. No, he was talking about when Trump was tweeting against Jeff Sessions, telling him to end the Russia investigation. Well, the fact of the matter is that very early on, this is something I was listening to on the Bongino podcast earlier. The idea of what happened in the Russia investigation and whether there was collusion or not, that question was probably resolved within the first couple weeks of the investigation, and Mueller probably sat on that information for the past 2 years and never really, he never really showed his hand, because for the fact is that since then he was going after people for all of these tangential crimes that have nothing to do with of course, collusion. He indicted Michael Flynn for lying to the FBI. He indicted who was the other guy? Manafort for tax crimes and issues and kind of white collar money laundering crimes from back in the 2000s. Not really they didn't really have anything to do with Russia. They had more to do with Ukraine apparently, and it's a bit confusing and also there's no who cares at this point. Who else did they indict? Roger Stone for kind of being facetious about his ties with WikiLeaks, which apparently there were less ties with WikiLeaks. The problem I would say if Roger Stone sees a day in jail, he will be the first person to be thrown into prison for the crime of exaggeration. Okay, think about it that way. Now, Roger Stone, I actually find him entertaining sometimes, but maybe there's a lesson learned. Don't exaggerate. Is that the lesson there? Are we going to put people in prison now for exaggerating? Because I don't think that that's very fair. Okay, I think that it was pretty stupid of him to kind of dickwag about, oh, I talked to Julian Assange and I knew this the entire time. No, at a certain point, people have to think smart instead of trying to peacock in front of the entire world. Lennon says, did Sessions ended? That's a good point. I get exactly what Lennon is saying. If Jeff Sessions didn't do anything according to what Donald Trump was asking him to do, then who cares whether he tweeted to him? And Adam Schiff was also saying in the committee earlier today, well, there was this whole thing where Trump said in the campaign, Russia, please hack into Hillary's emails. No, that's not obstruction of justice. That's not collusion. None of it is. Those are not prosecutable crimes. It is pretty. Where was the? Let me see here. Trump. Man. Second. No, not that. Let's just listen to this for a second. You want to hear the possible collusion song? No. I think they took it down. Here we go. This is from the BBC.
That a person in our government, Katie, would delete or get rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a big problem. After she gets a subpoena, she gets subpoenaed, and she gets rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China or any other country has those emails, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
So I understand what that actually means. They're trying to accuse Donald Trump of collusion with Russia. They didn't mention he also said China during that. Okay, so they're trying to They're trying to say, well, that's collusion, even though he's telling Russia to send the emails to the media. Okay? He's actually helping them do their job, which they won't do. They never will, because they don't care. So back to the topic. So Beto is tainted because he's an idiot, and he said, well, obstruction of justice, blah, blah, blah. But he's not nearly as tainted as Joe Biden, because once these probes start into a lot of these people who were at the top of the Obama administration, being associated with the Obama administration will be much more difficult to sell to the voters. Okay? If you start to see some of these people flip, which some of them could, okay, I could definitely see James Comey starting to kind of, boil in the water over there. You have, of course, Peter Strzok and that other woman, Lisa Page, could probably blow a lot of these top level people. And certainly, you have to ask what's going to happen with these actual cabinet level people like Sally Yates, who is the Deputy Attorney General, and the Acting Attorney General after the inauguration, and Loretta Lynch. Those people are really going to have to explain what the hell they were doing. And I really do hope that we're not being yanked along by our chain by people like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and people like that have kind of sat on their hands for the past 2 years. What have they been doing? Why couldn't they just do this from the beginning and kind of declassify everything? We had to go through this entire farce with the Washington Post basically running the country with all of their, we know this and we leaked that and we had confidential sources or whatever. This is why the two-party system is trash, because the two parties are codependent. And we need sort of this breaking up of that duopoly. We need even people to just start to think beyond the Republican and Democratic Party. Start to think of people as individual politicians and everything. And I personally am a supporter of Rand. There's probably a number of other politicians out there that could be good third-party leaders or whatever. But for the moment, yeah, I think that Trump is the only person who is really trying to, bite back. And bite back we're going to have to do. We're going to have to see people really face consequences for what they've been doing. Okay, yeah, the swamp, call it whatever you want, the deep state. By the way, there's a guy, I don't know if any of you live in Chicago, but there's a guy who's on the air in Chicago. I was listening to him at the gym, or while I was on the way to the gym. His name is Joe Walsh, who was trying to make this retarded claim that there is no deep state because only a handful of people have been implicated. Only Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and Bill Priestap and Comey and McCabe and Sally Yates, only those people. And he was saying, well, those are only a few people. That doesn't taint the entire reputation of the FBI. It's really, he started to blame, talk radio people for, smearing the FBI. No, you idiot. Okay? These were the top of the FBI. These were people in senior decision-making positions. These were people who had authority to basically pry into the lives of any American citizen. It happens to be they picked Donald Trump. Okay? Somebody who was much poorer, or who was, a little bit more of a cupcake. Somebody like Bernie Sanders probably would have crumbled under the pressure. So, yeah, there is a deep state. You fucking idiot. I think that it's if there's one thing going on right with this country, it's that Trump is still president, okay? Unfortunately, there's nothing better going on right now. With all the flaws and with all of the things that haven't gone right, I think he's much better than any of the other frauds that masquerade as leaders in the country. And, I'm just trying to say, there are things that I do like about him, but I have been disappointed by a lot of other things. But yeah, if he can repeal Obamacare, I will be fully on the Trump train for 2020. Okay? I'll be fully on the Trump train if he repeals Obamacare. Zatoichi says there is a glut of lack of personal responsibility among these dipshits who happen to be public servants. Yeah, and those people, they all look at themselves as being, paragons of morality. That's why they get on TV. That's why they're always on Meet the Press. And it didn't used to be that way. I don't remember when I grew up that people who were CIA, CIA senior officers and directors became, analysts on CNN and MSNBC. That's a new thing for me. Okay, so who else is tainted by this? So you had, let me see, Elizabeth Warren also had something to say, I believe. This was...
We're back with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has a new book out called This Fight is Our Fight. Senator, I opened the top of the show tonight with the discussion.
What we know absolutely for sure, we know that the intelligence community of the United States of America said Russia hacked in to American systems in order to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. Pow. We know for sure that the FBI has an active and ongoing investigation about the ties between Russia, the Trump campaign, and Donald Trump. Wow. And we know for sure.
So she said pow and wow. Okay, so somehow she managed to insinuate her own fraudulent Native American heritage into the discussion about Russia. So that's two hoaxes for the price of one. How can you beat that, guys? How can you beat that?
That top Trump aides, as you have just talked about, have been fired because of their ties, their undisclosed ties and connections with Russia. Now, for me, that is enough to say we got to have an investigation. We need a special prosecutor with strong subpoena powers, and we need an independent commission. And all of us should want that. This is not about partisanship. This is about patriotism. We make sure that our leaders and our elections are worried about nothing but the American people. That's our job. And so I think we put that one in a separate category, but I got to tell you, we got to turn the heat up under that. We've got to make sure.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Warren is tainted by the Russiagate investigation. For sure, people like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker have issues with that. I wouldn't say that they've been especially in the forefront of Russia, so I don't think that they'll be as damaged as. So let's try to rank it, okay? Let's look at list of 2020 presidential candidates. So we're gonna have to see. Here are the candidates. So you have Booker, Buttigieg, Castro, this idiot, Gabbard, Gillibrand, Mike Gravel, Kamala Harris, Hickenlooper, Inslee, Klobuchar, this guy from Florida. Good luck for him. Beto O'Rourke, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. So Marianne Williamson is only running she's all she is. She's a reparations advocate. Okay, so forget her. Nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with Yang. Nothing to do with Gabbard. Nothing to do with this guy. Nothing to do with Inslee and Hickenlooper, who don't really matter. And Mike Gravel. None of them. So Gillibrand is also tainted a bit. You would probably say that Castro is, because he was a cabinet level official under Obama, you could say he's a bit tainted by it, but he's not as much of a figure as Joe Biden. I would say if Joe Biden wins the nomination, at this point, Julian Castro might be his vice presidential pick, because the whole thing where he was saying, well, I'm going to nominate that other woman from Georgia, Stacey Abrams, I think she refused. I think she said, well, I'm not running to be vice president. I'd be running to be president. Cory Booker, yeah, he's going to have some issues. And, yeah, Bernie Sanders. I showed this about a week ago on the Hard Bastard show. He's going to have some issues as well. He is not, by any chance, clean of the Russiagate taint. He was one of the people who tried to pass a resolution. Slip of the tongue there. He tried to pass a resolution. He tried to pass a bowel movement because he's 78. He's 78, so that's pretty hard for him to do too. But he did try to pass a resolution to condemn Donald Trump following the Helsinki meeting, and he ended up looking like a complete clown and really made a fool out of himself based on his entire career of opposing foreign intervention and getting into the affairs of other countries and ramping up Cold War rhetoric. His entire career, he used to be against that. And suddenly, now that the wrong person is in office, I guess Cold Wars are okay. I guess it's fine. I guess it's absolutely fine. Like Lennon McCarthy is saying, Commie Sanders loves the USSR. I'm sure if Russia was the same country it was before 1991, Bernie Sanders would have no problem colluding with them. Because, yes, he is a committed communist piece of crap. And I absolutely think that Donald Trump should use every single dirty smear against Sanders that other people won't say. You know, talking about his past as just, coddling, actual Marxist Leninists, okay? It's fine for people to oppose wars and interventions in foreign countries, whether it's in Vietnam, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Russia, whether it's in Ukraine. It is not okay, in my opinion, to walk around the world and be basically a representative for countries that want to impose totalitarian Marxism in our country. That's where I draw the line between non-interventionism and advocacy for tyranny. So, yeah, I think these people are all tainted. I tried to make an audio clip earlier today. I was really coughing up a storm, even worse than now. I think I might need to get sort of a appraisal from like a pulmonologist or something, and maybe I could get some asthma medication, an inhaler or something. It's really starting to, sometimes I'll be driving and I'll be coughing so hard that I see stars and I get a headache. That's how bad it's been lately. So it's not feeling good, guys. But it is better having friends like you guys to talk about these idiots. And I hope you guys do continue to follow the channel. If you want, you can contribute through Subscribestar. I will try to find a way to use the Streamlabs in a better way. You can't do simultaneous streaming through the Streamlabs OBS. So I haven't been using it lately because I've been trying to also use the Periscope as well as at the time there was StreamMe, but there isn't anymore. And now I also have Twitch. Those of you that are on Twitch. So, yeah, please contribute through Subscribestar. Let me see. I think I still have no, that's the wrong one. Still have the link, but if you can, I do want to start kind of, expanding the channel, expanding, ideas and stuff like that. I wanted to say that we are going to, me and a couple other YouTubers are going to try a little bit of a more cooperative effort in the future. And you'll see what I'm talking about maybe in a few weeks, something a little more organized and more, more content, more writing, more focus, more cooperation. So we're building it. I'm not going to say exactly what it is yet, but these are a couple people that have been on my channel and I've been on theirs. So that's about it. So I'll put the Subscribestar here again, and you can also see. Let me see here. I will put all of my links in the comments when this video uploads, or I'll put them on Gab. So that you guys use the Gab to center. But you can find me on gab.ai. I'm Starscream85 at Starscream85. You can find me on minds.com at Chef Leopard. And you can also find me on BitChute. I'll put my BitChute channel in the chat right now. And I think that's about it. I did cancel my Patreon for those of you that may ask. But yeah, thanks to Lennon McCarthy, of course. Always glad to have you. Larry Gerke, Zatoichi. We have Uncle Bobbity from the Hard Bastard streams, and Chris. Always been he's been around for a while, and Larry Geislinger, I believe it is. And that's about it. Thanks for joining. Oh, Sweet Speaks as well. He was on earlier. So have a great night, and thanks for joining me.